Win streaks continue as the finish line looms with only 2 weeks left. SoCon Fast Break starts now. All right, Darren, here we go. We're right here close to the finish line. We're halfway through February. We're on the way towards Asheville. And we got to take a look at some of these standings because we had some games that impacted the standings. And now every single game has an opportunity to have implications in the standings. And we saw that this past weekend. We saw it last Wednesday. And we're going to see it moving forward. So when you look at the standings right now, ETSU, they're still holding on there at the top spot. But they've got some challengers coming their way. Obviously losing the game in overtime. Johnson City, Tennessee, that place was rocking. Freedom Hall. Samford does what Samford's been able to do right now, play extremely efficient basketball when it mattered the most, and they're hot right now. So they extend that 5-game winning streak as Samford is now climbing up as they're sitting there 8-6, but you're starting to have the tiers. ETSU seems to be in that top spot, and I don't know if anybody can catch them, at least from a mathematical standpoint. So it does look like ETSU is going to be rewarded for their steady play throughout the entire season, that they'll get the number 1 seed. But when you look at the rest of the standings there, Mercer at 9-5, Wofford at 9-5, Furman, Samford, UNCG, all sitting there bunched up together, tied for 4th. Western Carolina and the Citadel trying to see if there's any way they can get into the top 6 because we know how important that is. And then Chattanooga and then VMI rounding out as they have lost 12 in a row for VMI. And just you feel for Andrew Wilson and the Keydets, not from a perspective in terms of, hey, life is not fair. There's going to be challenges, there's going to be losses, but it's because they've battled with so many different injuries throughout the course of the season without the preseason conference player of the year, Ricky Bradley Jr., and against Furman, they only dressed 7 players in this game, and really only 6 of them got quality minutes. So it's just a team that has been decimated. So you feel for them that they haven't been able to compete at their highest level, because I do think that they could have been much better if they were fully healthy.
Certainly. I mean, they had some real momentum going there, which I think add that on to why you feel for them, because it's a program that in the current landscape of collegiate athletics, it's even harder to have continued success there because of the makeup of the NIL landscape and guys bouncing between rosters so frequently. And it looked like they really had some momentum built off last year, guys returning this year, some new faces that could make impacts.
And the big jump that they had from the previous season, you know, the win total increasing the way it did, I mean, that was significant. And so then to see the exact same thing happen, but on the opposite side, I mean, it's got to be extremely frustrating for Andrew Wilson.
I can only imagine the frustration that's going on there right now. I mean, it's just, you think you'd finally maybe gotten over the hump in some respects, and then you know, then this year happens.
Nothing is going your way whatsoever. And we know injuries and those type of things are cyclical. It seems like one year you avoid the injuries, another year you don't. And that's why, you know, some of these teams are, you know, in the position that they're in, like a Wofford, without Kamari Holmes, without Luke Flynn. This is a completely different Wofford team. And I say completely different, not so drastically different. I mean, they can still compete, but without a scorer, without a defensive guy like Kamari Holmes, a tough guard, because we know how important it is. You've got to be able to guard the perimeter, and you've got to be able to have somebody that can body up these other guards that can slash to the basket. But not having Kamari Holmes on the defensive side, but more importantly, what he's been able to do on the offensive side, that's a big loss for Wofford right now.
Well, look, I mean, you can only go so long and so far without your best player, no matter who you are. Nobody at any level can survive forever without their best player, regardless of depth. I mean, the Golden State Warriors during their run, if Steph's out for an extended period of time, they're just not going to be as good. And so I think, you know, to your point, look, that's a well-coached team that is playing hard and they play together. But when you don't have a guy that gives you 20-ish a night, and does all the other things that he does on the floor and makes life easier for his teammates, it's going to catch up to you at some point, and you're not going to be as strong as you are. So I think for them, I'm curious, when does he come back?
That's right.
Because if he's back and he's healthy, we've seen this Wofford team.
Yeah, and it might take a game or two before he gets back into the same type of rhythm that he was in.
It certainly will.
But you're running out of time.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And you don't want to be in a position where you're also maybe pushing him too fast, and he wants to be out there.
Certainly.
So he's going to push it also, but you have to be careful that you don't hurt the long-term situation by coming back a game or two early, where at the end of the day, you need him in Asheville. You would love to have him for the last 4 games, but if you can't get him ready before then, make sure you do everything you can to get him ready for Asheville, because that's when you need him the most.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, you need him in Asheville. Ideally, I think if you can get him back, let's just say it is going to be touch and go. I think any way you can get him back for one warm-up game, to kind of get those game legs back, that would be huge, because the reality is we don't know where it's going to end up right now, and we'll talk more about how everyone's bunched together here, but you're going to have more likely than not, a tough matchup opening night in Asheville.
Oh, yeah.
And so to have him a little bit closer to game shape would be ideal.
Right now, if the standings finish the way they are right now, or I should say if the tournament started the way the standings are right now, you'd have Wofford and Samford meeting up.
Yeah, you'd like to have Kamari Holmes
Wofford,
with some game legs
want
prior to that game.
Kamari Holmes in that game against Samford. That's a tough matchup. Obviously, with Samford on their 5-game winning streak. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And also, we do have some big news about Wofford.
Yeah.
We got a special event coming up that we'll talk about here on Saturday, that big I-85 rivalry game versus Furman. But you look at Wofford in terms of the opportunity with their schedule, VMI, Furman, they're at home at ETSU, and then you've got the Citadel at home. So, yeah, is there an opportunity? Can you get Kamari Holmes back and even Luke Flynn back? And I think they might have pushed him a little too soon to get him back in the lineup.
You need more backcourt depth.
You do.
You've got to get one and or both. I mean, really, you got to get both those guys back. But certainly one of those guys needs to get back to be able to provide them with some additional backcourt.
Yeah, because right now, again, they're teetering.
They're
holding on. They've lost their last 2 games, and it's like, okay, can we just hold on long enough for Kamari to come back?
Well, and the thing is, and you can't just look at the score, and you can't just look at the box score, but, I mean, they did put up 89 points.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Greensboro.
Yes.
They got down early in that game, and that really did them in.
It was the beginning of the game. I think it was a 13-0 run to start the game for
something like
the Spartans.
that.
Yeah, then all of a sudden, I mean, your back's against the wall, and you're fighting uphill the entire time. And then UNCG did shoot the ball really well from beyond the arc, over 40% for the game. And at that point, it's just too difficult. It's too big of a mountain when you don't have all the players that you need out on the court.
Right.
All right, what about Mercer? They're sitting there tied for second, and somehow they get the big win against Furman.
Huge win.
Real gutsy,
at home. Real gutsy performance there.
Gritty, grindy type of win. And then you go on the road at the Citadel, follow that up with the win. But don't look at that score and think that this game was an easy breezy type of game for Mercer as they win 70-54. I mean, they did hold the Citadel to 54 points. I mean, so defensively, shut down. Mercer scored 18 points in the first half. 18 points in the first half. And we had already questioned Mercer when we saw them play earlier, where they scored 22 points in the first half against Samford. So offensively, you're thinking, okay, something's off here. And then they explode for 52 points there in the second half. And you're like, okay, everything's good. Yeah, they're good. Okojie, he's back.
Yeah, the Baraka Okojie effect kicked in.
Exactly.
And showed up.
Oh, he was definitely back. Then now when you look at the schedule for Mercer, because they still have an opportunity. I don't think anybody's going to catch ETSU, but you want to maintain that second position there in the standings. So to be able to do that, you've got Chattanooga on your schedule at home. You've got Samford at home. And then you're at Western Carolina. And then you finish the season there at home against ETSU. So now they've got the ability, 3 out of the last 4 games are at home. Now, they paid the tax early at the beginning of the season where they were on the road quite a bit, starting off the season at Furman, then at ETSU.
Yeah.
And so now, I mean, this is an opportunity for Mercer to really finish strong because, remember, they're still undefeated at home.
Yeah.
So even if they just follow that formula right there, go 3-1, say they don't lose, they don't win on the road against Western Carolina, that puts Mercer in a great position right there. Now, it's still difficult games, though. I mean, ETSU Absolutely. At home, I know that's still tough. Samford at home.
Yeah.
Chattanooga, we know they're not playing up to the preseason rankings, being voted preseason #1 team. But still, Chattanooga, they can put some things together, and especially if you're struggling on the offensive side like Mercer has done over the past few weeks. Now, they've turned it around in certain portions of the game or in the second half, but you've got to play more consistent if you're Mercer.
They do. And to your point with the UTC game, I mean, it's still a Dan Earl coach team. He does a great job. That's a game that, you still can't circle that one and just say, hey, if we show up with our C+ stuff, we're gonna find a way to win regardless. But they are in a unique spot that, it's very conceivable for them to go 3-1 here. And if you go 3-1, 6 losses, a lot of things still can happen. But I think 6 losses puts you in a pretty good spot to lock in that #2 seed.
Yeah, I would think so too. Now, when you look at ETSU sitting at #1, do we have any concern about ETSU? Just how they're playing?
I do. I think I'll say this too. They've got a tough schedule to finish off. You have to go to Furman, to Greensboro, home versus Wofford, and then go to Mercer.
Yes.
So 3 of your 4 are away from the crib. I know UNCG's record overall is not great, but they are clearly playing better basketball
No doubt.
late in the Southern Conference. And to me, Justin Neely is making his, and I'm sure we'll talk more about this, but he's making his case for Player of the Year in the league for me.
No doubt.
He's just been dominant. And
I think it comes down to 3 players right now. Justin Neely, Baraka, Okojie, and Jadin Booth. Those are the 3 that it's going to be a race for Player of the Year right there.
Yeah, so there is some, I think overall, to your point, 11-3 right now. You've got a 2-game cushion now. Could you conceivably? I don't think even though those are tough games, I don't think they're going to go 0-4 in those games.
They're too good. They've been too steady all year long. Now, that was a little bit eye-opening right there at the end of the game where Samford sends it into overtime.
Yeah.
Jadin Buckets makes a big shot right there for Samford. And then Samford goes on a 14-4 run after that and, win by 10. And, so that was a little bit eye-opening. But I'm wondering also, was it a situation where for ETSU, they did so much to get back into that game because they were down big early in that game and fought back, took some leads, but Samford kept, punching back, so to speak. And Samford got a huge stop there at the end of regulation to ultimately send it to overtime after Jadin Booth hit that big 3-point shot. And that's what they weren't able to do that in the first matchup there at Samford, where Blake Barkley gets the missed shot there and gets the rebound. But I just felt that they just ran out of gas there in overtime.
I think 2 things for me really stand out with ETSU is that, especially of late, they've dug themselves, even at home, some really big deficits.
Look at the Furman game.
And when you get to Asheville, that's going to catch up to you.
Yes.
At some point, you are not going to be able to get behind the way that they have and go out and figure out a way to win 3 straight days in Asheville. And then the second thing for me is, and it's almost a backhanded compliment to them, but they've gotten so many contributions out of so many guys, but especially the way they've played getting behind, do they have a guy that, one, can just flat out go off against anybody, and can they get a bucket if and when they really, really need
They
it
have
in
to
a
have it.
really tight
Yeah.
game where some of these other teams that are very close might have that guy that, hey, give me a
Yeah.
double gap, give me a middle ball screen,
And
whatever
I'm
it
gonna
might be,
create.
let me go.
Yeah,
and
all
I'm gonna
hell's
get you a
breaking
bucket.
loose. I'll get the bucket
Yeah.
there. And I think Brian Taylor, the second, he can be that type of guy. And we talked about it on the preview show that for ETSU to truly have an opportunity, I think that Brian Taylor was
Yeah.
going to have to step up. And he had 28 points in
Yeah.
this game. So he was able to step up. But yes, to your point, consistently, do they have that guy? And again, from an overall standpoint, they've been very steady,
Yeah.
both on the defensive and offensive side in terms of efficiency. But to your point, you can't be digging yourself in
No.
big holes. You just can't.
That's the biggest thing. is
Yes.
You just can't dig yourself those holes if you want to win.
Because the pressure
Monday night.
changes
It
in Asheville.
100%.
Because as the number one seed, all of a sudden you start feeling it if you're down.
Yep.
And then, oh, here it comes.
Yep.
And then it's just that time is constricted on you, so to speak, and you're watching the clock, and each time you're saying, okay, we have got to make a bucket right here. And then when you don't, you get tighter, and then it's just that vicious cycle.
You're giving me flashbacks to the Western Carolina game from 23. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just a different level of pressure and a different level of stress. And I'm not saying that they're still not, going to be the favorite to go win the league.
Mathematically, they're the number
there.
one seed. Yeah, they're not going to lose that.
I don't necessarily think that there is, as we are now getting towards the end of conference play, I don't necessarily think that there is one dominant team like there kind of has been maybe in years past.
Yeah, that's right. And I say mathematically, they're locked in. Not 100%. I mean, there's still an outside chance, but they do have to go 0-4. And then certain teams have to win, and we'll talk more about that next week because then we'll have a much better or clearer picture as well. So speaking of the Furman Paladins then, sitting there at 8-6. Now, they get an efficient win at VMI, but they did give up 45 points there in the second half to a VMI team that, again, they have a unique defense. It's that zone, and you've got TJ Johnson and the rest of the crew. They're going to throw up some three-pointers. I mean, they're not afraid to shoot the three. So it's high volume, but they have low percentage, and that's the problem for VMI. So they can't stay in games just because they can't put two halves together from that standpoint. But this was a VMI team that just hung around, and with just under 8 minutes to go, they cut it, that big 20-point lead, to 7, and it was almost like, deja vu for Furman Paladin fans, seeing big leads evaporate, and then that pressure starts taking hold. And so that's another thing for Furman. They've got to be able to close out some of these games. And yes, they did. They closed it out.
Yeah.
But don't even give some of these teams a chance. Like VMI should not have had a chance in that game based on their struggles and based on the roster of the Furman Paladins.
No, they shouldn't have. So it's at the end of the day, went in, took care of business, got a much needed win to break their that losing streak. But similarly, if you want to go win in Asheville, you just can't have those massive swings.
Yes.
Because again, it gets tighter. There is more pressure. Teams start to ride those hot streaks just a little bit more when they're making those runs, and you get just a little bit tighter on the back end of that. So what I really want to see the last 4 games from Furman is, now that they are appearing to be finally fully healthy again, can they get into a rhythm here going into Asheville? Because I do think, and this is truly objective, I know I've obviously got my Furman biases, but I do think they have the best roster to be able to compete to win an NCAA tournament game. And so I really want to see them. Can they get into a rhythm now that they're back fully healthy?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that because they've got the front court, a fully healthy Cooper Bowser and Charles Johnston, and even you can throw Ben Vanderwall in there also. And then you've got the back court, Alex Wilkins. We know you've got to be able to have a guard who can score when, again, as we've talked about, when chaos happens,
Yeah.
when there's no offensive rhythm whatsoever, he's just got to be able to get to the rim, get a basket, step back, whatever it is. And then you've got to have some perimeter gravity type of guys. And you've got that with Asa Thomas now that he's healthy, because you have to honor that. And so there's no doubt that they can be a team roster-wise that can win an NCAA tournament, because you've got the size with the front court, and then you can knock down some threes. That's the ultimate equalizer in the game.
Yeah, and he was huge in the VMI game.
Yes.
You and I were talking about this off air of him kind of being the X factor for them coming down the stretch as a guy that can really stretch the floor, has shot it at a high clip all year when he's been healthy, and really gives them a different dynamic out there, in that with him in the lineup, inevitably you're going to have at least two, maybe three 40+% three-point shooters out there at one time. And that's just going to make things easier for Alex Wilkins, and it's going to make things easier for Cooper Bowser as well.
Yeah, I'm wondering with Alex Wilkins, because I'm seeing some production drop off, is he getting tired? Are the legs getting a little bit jello-ish, in terms of, it's a much different season now than in high school.
Yeah.
Because he's been playing at a high level and has been the guy, so to speak, and the wear and tear of a long season, it starts taking effect on some of these players.
It does,
especially the younger ones.
And you all,
but he can bounce back. He's young.
He is. Well, we always talk about the freshman wall.
Yes.
And maybe he's hit that a little bit. I still have a lot of confidence in his ability in a big game to get it done. I do think
there's no doubt. He's still so dangerous.
I do think some of it, though, is teams are guarding him a little bit differently over the last couple of weeks. Some of these matchups, they've done a better job taking the ball out of his hands, extending their defense out to pressure him a little bit further, trying to put two on the ball more often to get it out of his hands. So I think some teams have adjusted and played him very well defensively.
And that's why it's even more important that you have guys step up.
Absolutely.
Like an Asa Thomas, like a Tom House, those type of guys, and a Charles Johnston. I mean, you're going to have those type of guys step up. And then Furman, you look at their remaining schedule, got ETSU at home, at Wofford on Saturday. Ooh, we're going to talk about that one. The Citadel at home, and then you end the conference slate at Western Carolina. So 2 at home, 2 on the road.
Yeah.
But winnable games. I mean, we know it's a tough game against ETSU. Wofford, throw the record books out. It's the rivalry, the I-85 rivalry. The Citadel, again, you've got to be able to take care of business at home. Yep. And then Cullowhee, though, telling you, that can be a trap type of destination. And Tim Kraft, he's got Western Carolina. They're 2-0 this past week.
Yeah.
They seem to be playing a little bit better basketball right now. Julian Samaro, he had a big week this week, and that Catamounts team, they can be dangerous. Yeah,
I mean, we've talked about it all year. I mean, they have the ability from a scoring perspective to be able to get 4 or 5 guys in the double figures, and they can be scary if they can.
Because they've got some size too.
Things that they need to do in other aspects of the game. So I certainly think if they're playing well offensively, they're a scary matchup. But unfortunately, they have.
Yeah, they dug themselves too big of a hole
to be
early.
Inconsistent all year.
Agreed.
So now you figure out a way to go.
They can be a spoiler, though. That's the problem.
They certainly can. And look, you have UNCG and VMI this week. Both. Well, one is at home. You got UNCG at home, and then you got to go on the road to VMI. You could very easily continue your 2-game win streak and get it to 4 going into the last week, and at least give yourself an outside chance at the top 6, but nonetheless be riding some momentum, hopefully then going into Asheville, because like you said, that could be a very interesting matchup for somebody because of their ability to score. And like you said, they do have some size.
That's right. Yeah, so you obviously the matchups would be in their favor, where you can try to leapfrog somebody, because you got UNCG ahead of you, you've got Furman ahead of you. If you can knock off both of those, you're not going to be able to catch Mercer. And then VMI, that's a game you just got to win just to put in the win column.
You just have
to be able to continue there. All right, speaking of UNCG, though, whew, here we go.
Yeah.
4-game win streak for the Spartans. Now, again, I think we're starting to see their identity in terms of they're more efficient from beyond the arc right now, and they understand, number one thing, get it to Justin Neely and let him do his work because he is playing dominant basketball right now. And I agree with you. There's no question that he's put his name firmly in that conversation for Southern Conference Player of the Year. There's no doubt. Can they play the defense on the defensive side? And we've talked about it on our preview episode that we did for UNCG versus Wofford, is that I think part of it too is that they might not have the same type of personnel that Mike Jones can employ out there to run the defense that he wants to. And so as much as we keep harping on, they're going to have to play the Mike Jones defense that we're used to, I just don't know if that's the reality at this point. But if you understand who you are, then hey, you're going to have to go out there and play to your strengths.
Well, I mean, to your point, they go out and beat Wofford by putting up 99 points,
yes.
And so I didn't think that they were certainly capable of that against even a depleted Wofford team dealing with some injuries. So they've found ways to get wins of late. Obviously, really good week for them. And that, as you mentioned, they've done it in different ways where they scored 99 against Wofford, but then, the week prior, they really kind of have a more Mike Jones staple win against Furman. So they've clearly shown a capableness of late to be able to go out and win big games. But what stands out to me is I think Justin Neely is carrying the most on his shoulders of any of these teams that are kind of sitting here 8-6 or above in terms of just the overall impact he is having on the game, whether he scores 29 and 15 or whether he scores 16 and 10.
Yeah. What would this Spartans team look like if they did not have Justin Neely?
I mean, they'd be at the bottom of the Southern Conference, I can assure you that.
They would. There's no way they would be in the position that they're in right now. They would not have a 4-game win streak.
He's been incredible. He really has. I'm not sure anyone's had to. And look, they have gotten guys that have stepped up at different parts of the year. Noah Norgard, KJ Younger. They've got some guys that have played well. But he has just been a rock, and I think he has had to carry the most consistent load of any of these guys that are kind of in that Player of the Year hunt.
I think the surprise for me is Lillian Marville, the freshman there. I think he's playing extremely well right now. And then KJ Younger. I didn't know what to expect with KJ Younger as a freshman, and this dude is balling right now. I mean, there's no doubt, based on what he did this past week, his name could be in contention for Player of the Week. At least honorable mention, because in that game against Wofford, he was 4 or 5 from beyond the arc, and that's a different type of situation because you can have him inside, but when you have him with that ability to be out on the perimeter and knock down some shots like that, then all of a sudden, that pulls another big out, and it leaves Justin Neely sitting right there. And you just can't defend Justin Neely because if he's not getting his shot off, he's getting fouled. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, I mean, he's wreaked havoc.
Yes.
Is maybe the best way to say it is he's just wreaked havoc for.
I call him the force.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he is such a force inside. And don't forget, he can bring the ball up the court at 6'6". He can stop and pop from beyond the three-point line. He can step out. So he can score at all 3 levels, and he's just so effective in terms of also grabbing the rebounds because a lot of that has to do with effort. And he's got a high motor when it comes to getting rebounds.
Yeah, he plays with a lot of energy, a lot of positive energy.
He does. All right, when you look at their schedule, at Western Carolina, home against ETSU, at Chattanooga, and at Samford. So for them to continue their streak, they're going to have to do it on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a tough end of the regular season for the Spartans, 3 out of the last 4 on the road.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you throw in the home game, guess who their home game is against? ETSU.
Exactly. The number 1 team in the standings right now.
So they have a challenge to be able to go win 3 out of 4 on the road. Look, they're playing well right now. They've found a ways, we've talked about it, to do it in different ways. There's no reason they can't continue that. But, you do look at, are they able to take care of enough business where they can rise up out of that 6th spot? I mean, they're still obviously pretty secure not playing opening night.
Yes.
But, do you potentially want to try and have something higher than that 6th seed, which we don't know what that matchup is, so you could make the argument that, hey, we're okay being the 6th seed depending on what their matchup is.
Right now, if the tournament started right now, it'd be Furman and UNCG matching up there in Asheville. Yeah, we saw how UNCG was able to get that win there on the road at Furman, a gritty, tough 67-64 victory. So, there is definitely an opportunity that they can still move up. All right, team of the week, though.
I mean, is this?
You can say UNCG. Yes, you could say the Spartans. They've won 4 in a row. So back-to-back 2-0 weeks. But
you could.
Come on.
I mean,
we know it's the Bulldogs.
Oh, I mean, they're
and it's the Samford Bulldogs. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
It's the Samford Bulldogs. They've won 5 in a row. But what they were able to do at home against Wofford earlier in the week, and then go to Freedom Hall, noon tip-off there, win in overtime. And again, it was almost like Freedom Hall was redlining just in terms of the electricity, all of that. And then Samford being able to come in there and just shut the door closed there in overtime. That's an emphatic way to win that game.
Yeah, I mean, 14-4 run to end it in overtime. And I feel like they dictated the tempo for much of that game, which is a hard thing to do against ETSU, especially this year.
Especially with ETSU's physicality, their inside presence, and Dylan Faulkner, another double-double.
Yeah.
He's just playing extremely well. But you've got to give a lot of credit, and you've been on these guys for a while, and we've talked about the Norris brothers.
Yeah.
I mean, they were absolutely fantastic. Keaton Norris, 12 points, 12 rebounds.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fantastic.
Showing some toughness right there.
Yes.
When you get 12 rebounds out of the guard spot, it's a huge win.
No question.
They have been to me, and we've talked about it before, but they continue to be the X factor. I think if you have those guys continuing to play the way that they're playing, add this team to the list of teams that can cut down the nets on Monday night in Asheville.
Yes.
I think they are squarely in that
There's
conversation
no doubt.
at this point.
Right now, I think their record is not indicative of how good they are.
No, they're playing. There's no. I mean, they are playing the best of anybody in the league right now, and I'm not sure it's that close.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, they've been the best team in the league for the last 2 weeks.
They have. Yeah, there's no doubt about it, and that's why they're on a 5-game winning streak right now. And now to finish off, Samford's got at the Citadel, at Mercer, VMI at home, and then you end the regular season slate with the Spartans coming in to Pete Hanna Center. So, I mean, you've got, now that obviously on the road at Mercer, but you've got the Citadel and VMI, and no disrespect to those teams, but those are games that Samford should win. And then, can you get UNCG at home? So at minimum, can you go 3-1 for the Samford Bulldogs? But I look at this and I look and say, they could easily go 4-0 with that schedule.
The way they're playing right now, they can certainly go 4-0. I think you would expect them, to your point, to be 3-1, and it's no disrespect to any of those other teams. It's the way they're playing right now. But I think I would be surprised if they don't go 3-1 to finish those last 4 off, but would also not be surprised at all if they were able to go into Macon and get a win, despite the fact that Mercer's not lost at home all year yet. But I mean, you've been high on them for a long time. I'm on the Samford bandwagon for sure right now. They are playing excellent basketball.
Yeah, and when you're getting some help, Zion Wilburn created some defensive presence that I think that they needed in that game against ETSU, because you didn't have Isaiah Campbell-Finch out there, so he was able to step up. And then you've got the Norris brothers stepping up, and then Dylan Faulkner is going to give you that consistency each and every night. And then you've got Jadin Buckets. Hello. You've got a guy that I think he missed 4 3-pointers before he made that one heading it to right there with about a minute to go
Yeah.
in regulation that tied the game up and then ultimately got it into overtime. And then Samford just, they closed the door from the free throw line. They were 9 of 10 from the free throw line in overtime. I mean, that's pure efficiency right there. And the Norris brothers were a big part of that. So I think you're starting to see a lot of the pieces come together for Samford. And we've talked about it with Lenny Acuff's system. Maybe it took them a little bit of time to gel, to put all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together. And now we're seeing the fruit of all of that labor come into here with a 5-game winning streak.
Yeah, and Jadin Booth, to his credit, still got he got his 19, 8 of 10 from the free throw line, but he was 4 of 14 from the field in that game. And Samford still finds a way to pull that one out
because he's not afraid to keep shooting.
And no, which you like. All jokes aside, like you just can't be.
Yeah,
no
doubt.
When you have the ability to shoot it the way he does, you can't. You have to have a short memory.
Yes,
because inevitably they're going to drop at some point.
That's right.
But for them to win a game at Freedom Hall with that crowd against a team winning the league right now, who's been really good all year, with him going 4 of 14 from the field, says to me that they're getting significant contributions from other guys that are allowing them to withstand a 4 of 14 shooting night from Jadin Booth.
Yes, and they can, to your point, yeah, they can absorb that. All right, player of the week then. I don't think we have to go too far. We've already talked about Justin Neely. My goodness, he had 22 and a half points in the past 2 games, 12 and a half rebounds per game. He had 29 and 16 against Wofford. He shot 68% from the field the past 2 games. I mean, that's ridiculous. He's number 1 total rebounder in the country, number 1 nationally in defensive rebounds per game. He's number 2 in rebounds per game nationally. He's number 2 in double-doubles in the country, and he's number 5 nationally in free throws made. This guy is just playing at an extreme level. Another guy that I think you could look at, Baraka Okojie. We've talked about him. He averaged 23 and a half points this past week, 4.5 assists. He had 2 turnovers total this past week. 2 total turnovers, and he averaged almost 38 minutes per game.
It's impressive.
That's impressive.
It's very
and
impressive.
He had 24 free throw attempts in the past 2 games. Okojie is number 1 nationally in free throw attempts and number 1 nationally in free throws made. I mean, these guys are putting up absolutely insane numbers. And then let's go to Jadin Booth, the other candidate here. Averaged 22 points per game, shot 50% from beyond the arc in the 2 wins, and played 44 of the 45 minutes in that game against ETSU. He's number 1 nationally in three-pointers made per game, number 1 nationally in total three-pointers made, and he's number 7 in three-point field goal attempts nationally, and number 15 in three-point field goal percentage nationally.
Let him fly, baby.
Let him fly. Jadin Buckets is the guy that we continue to talk about. And so when you look at all of that, then you factor in what Samford has been able to do with their 5-game win streak, taking down the number 1 team on the road, and then also having the signature moment. He hit the shot, the 3-point shot, when he was struggling from the field and knocked it down, contested, sends it into overtime. So I'm going Jadin Buckets as my player of the week. And again, I will be shocked if the Southern Conference doesn't give it to Jadin Booth this past week.
Okay.
Yes, I will be shocked. Because of the signature moment. You know I can make the argument for both Justin Neely and Baraka Okojie. So I wouldn't be upset, but I will be surprised if they don't give it to Jadin Booth. He hasn't been named player of the week this year for the Southern Conference.
I think that certainly bodes in his favor here of them kind of sharing and spreading the love. And they, like we mentioned, we just got done talking about how we both think that they've been the best team in the league for the past 2+ weeks. I go back to, and I would be completely fine with and think it's a great selection for player of the week if it is Jadin Booth for all the things that you mentioned. I'm stuck on Justin Neely.
Yeah, I get
16-9, 7-10 shooting against VMI, 29-16, 10-15 against Wofford. He's just having to do so much heavy lifting for that team to do what it's done. Again, no disrespect to any of those other guys. The impact he has to have on the game.
Yeah, we talked about it. You take Justin Neely off of that team, and that team is 180 different.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a completely different type of team.
But within reason, we're arguing 1A and 1B here.
Oh, we're splitting hairs.
You
Yes.
know, I mean, we're not talking about a guy that didn't have a great week. And it is interesting. I think this week does, not that it's a massive deal, but I think this week has the potential to be one of the most intriguing player of the week releases of the year, because I do think there are 4 or 5 guys. I mean, one guy we didn't fully mention that I think could make an argument too is Dylan Faulkner had a great week,
course.
too.
Julian Samaro had a fantastic week. He averaged over 20 points this past week.
So I think this is going to be this is going to be an interesting choice here, because I think there are 3 or 4 guys. I might be surprised, but there are 3 or 4 guys that if it weren't Booth or Neely, I'd be like, he had a really good week. I mean, maybe I think it should go to somebody else, but I'm good with that. So this will be a fun player of the week release. We'll have to be ready to comment on it when it gets released.
Yes,
here.
no question about it. And I do think these 3 guys, though, have separated themselves for player of the year
I
race.
completely agree with you.
And I do think that Justin Neely is leading the race right now. So can Okojie and Jadin Booth be able to catch him? All right, power rankings. I've got a little bit of change in the power rankings.
I'm curious because we didn't share ours prior.
Did not.
So I'm curious what we align with here.
VMI, Chattanooga at the bottom, the Citadel at 8, Western at 7. I've got Wofford 6, slipping to number 6.
Okay.
Injuries playing a big role. Furman at number 5, Mercer at number 4, UNCG at number 3.
Ooh.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And ETSU at number 2. Samford taking the number 1 spot right now in the power rankings.
Okay.
Going with the Bulldogs.
I'm aligned with you until we get to 6.
Okay.
I've got UNC Greensboro still at 6, Wofford at 5, Furman at 4. This is where I got a little bit trickier for me. Although I still think going 2-0 with a gritty home win against the Furman Paladins makes me feel comfortable about Mercer sliding into that 2 spot, Samford sliding in at 3, so Samford making the big jump. And I got to give ETSU the love at number 1. They're still leading the league. They've been the most consistent. Now I know our power rankings kind of take it into account of today.
Yes, and I've had people ask about the power rankings, and my stand on the power rankings is that the standings measure history.
Yeah.
So they tell you what has happened, where the power rankings, they measure heat.
Yeah.
They measure who's playing extremely well right now. And, I think there's several factors that can go into it. Strength of the opponent that you're playing.
Yeah.
How efficient you were. And, it's more of a predictive measure about who's playing the best right now. And that's why I think Samford right now is playing the best.
They certainly are.
You look at it also from a perspective as far as if you're matching up right now, if you've got Samford and ETSU playing tomorrow, who are you leaning towards?
Are we going neutral site here too?
Yes.
No, all jokes aside, it's a great question.
I think I'm going towards Samford, and that's why I ultimately
right
said Samford ahead of ETSU. And the same with UNCG versus Mercer. Mercer, I think, can explode, but it makes me question a little bit right now just in terms of you can't have 18-point first halves.
No.
Against some of these teams,
No.
and especially when it's a team like the Citadel, who we saw earlier in the season how they struggled giving up a lot of easy baskets, a lot of easy shots, high field goal percentage to their opponents. And so that's where I struggle a little bit with Mercer, but they've got the talent, though.
Yeah. It is interesting to see, and I'd be curious what other leagues are right now, but it is interesting to see that the 3 or 4 teams that have been most consistent this conference season so far, they're not playing their best basketball right now.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it's kind of interesting now.
Wofford is definitely in a different situation. That's why I have them at 6 because of injuries.
Injuries have played a role in a lot of that. I mean, the same thing with Furman.
Furman, yes.
They haven't been healthy. They haven't been fully healthy since November.
I need to see more consistency from Furman right now.
Yeah.
Just in terms of they can build some leads and then those leads evaporate. And we've seen some of those evaporate to losses. And that's the problem with Furman.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. There has been somewhat of the teams that we've got some teams playing hot right now as we're heading into the final, 4 games of the season.
Yeah, teams that we didn't necessarily expect would be.
No question.
Based on how they had played up until a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay, power rankings. There we go. Hey, that's why we love power rankings. Yes, we love the power rankings. All right, one thing that I did want to mention real quick, though, the news that came out, Big South and the Southern Conference forming a partnership with a scheduling alliance. So now each school's going to get one home and one away game against the other league. And so I think that's a big opportunity from a geographic footprint that you have that, and then basically the matchups are going to be determined after the transfer portal settles down by May 31st for the men, and then they're going to use predictive analytics and net rankings to help with the scheduling. So the net rankings are going to drive more of the matchups, but they are going to try to keep the logistical travel issues there whenever possible, because they don't want teams traveling too far if they don't have to. But, when you have the net rankings that are part of it, that could change, some of these matchups.
It can, and I think it should, because when you look at, and I think this is great that they're doing a challenge overall.
That's right.
It helps.
And it's for 2 years.
With scheduling.
Yep.
Right. It's not too long in that you can reassess it pretty quickly if it makes sense. But I do want to see the upper echelon teams of each league playing each other.
No doubt.
Because the reality is, 1, they're going to be better basketball games. 2, I think the head coaches at those places are going to be more comfortable with having another potentially, better quad 3 game, or if any of these could be quad 2 games ever. And, I think it just allows to build a little bit more momentum towards this, as opposed to having, one of the top teams in the Southern Conference play, one of the worst teams in the Big South, or vice versa, and you now have a matchup on your schedule that is, a low 300.
Yeah, I mean, you could get into a situation
that you're not buying.
That's right. Yes, and you could get into a situation where you're just trading wins amongst the conferences there, and it does from a scheduling standpoint. Yes, it helps that one thing you don't have to worry about, but it also, you do lose some flexibility in the scheduling, from that standpoint. But I think ultimately it's a good thing for both of these conferences to be able to utilize the geography, the footprint that we talked about. Yeah. So again, that's a 2-year situation, and I know will be working hard with the scheduling as we get into the summer. All right, real quick, games to watch we've got coming up this Wednesday. I'm excited about this one because I actually will be on the call for this one. ETSU at Furman on Wednesday.
It's a big one.
You've also got Chattanooga at Mercer on the 19th. So that's a big one. Then on the 21st, Samford at Mercer. That is a big one right there. ETSU at Greensboro, taking on the Spartans. And then Furman Paladins at Wofford Terriers on Saturday, the 21st, 7 p.m. tip-off time, the I-85 rivalry, and we are excited to announce that we are going to be doing our very first live broadcast from Jerry Richardson Indoor Stadium pregame. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. So for all you Wofford fans, make sure you show up because you can be right there inside the arena as we'll be broadcasting live. And then obviously, just from a standpoint of we'll be broadcasting on YouTube. So make sure you tune in. Again, we'll be 90 minutes before tip-off. Yeah. So around 5:30, we'll be putting out some promotion opportunities, but we are excited. So thank you to Wofford in allowing us to be able to set up shop there, and we're definitely looking forward to it because it's going to be our own little SoCon Fast Break game day That's right. We're taking it on the road. That's right.
Yeah.
So to be able to get that, though, you have to make sure that you get the notifications, and that's easy to do. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button, or you can even hit the follow button wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, even the iHeartRadio app. Until next time, may all your jumpers hit nothing but the bottom of the net.